The world is in the grip of a pandemic. Global experts are coming together to fight the crisis. But there is a great deal of uncertainty about the future. What is going to happen? And thus, there is a great deal of fear too. I notice a lot of people becoming more inclined towards religion and spirituality. I am curious. And I want to understand how spirituality, religion, meditation can help during the current crisis. So I have invited Sanjay and Parthiv to our studio, PARIKRAMA. Both of my guests are long-term practitioners of meditation. I am your host, Kailash. Thank you, both of you, for being in our studio. The first question I am in a real hurry to ask is about the end of world, doomsday prediction, and the other fear psychosis for motivating people to become more spiritual so that the world would be free. But before that, I would request my guests to introduce themselves, starting with Sanjay ji. Sanjay ji, please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Hi, my name is Sanjay Sehgal, and I am native of Atlanta. I've been here for a number of years, and I'm here as a person who has an active interest in spirituality and meditation, and have been a practitioner of heartfulness meditation for over 30 years and a trainer for over 28 years. And besides this, my day job is that I'm CEO of Msys Technologies. Some of you may have heard me last week on the other podcast where we were talking about economy and the impact of this pandemic on businesses. Here, I'm looking forward to a fruitful conversation on how pandemic is leading people towards spirituality and religion.
Parthiv, please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you, Kailash. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Parthiv Parekh. I've been in Atlanta since 1986, and I am one of the founding partners of Khabar magazine. I have had interest in spirituality just about all my adult life. I guess certainly past 30 years. But perhaps not as from a vantage standpoint of Sanjay ji as being a trainer and all, but from the trenches I've had a very interactive engagement with spirituality. I consider myself a practitioner of yoga and meditation, and it's become a daily part of my life. And I've seen the impact of it, and I've when you experience something, then you can't deny it. So I come from that standpoint of being a yogi in class as such. Still learning, still a lot to learn, but nevertheless, appreciative of where I am, how far I've come.
Thank you, both of you, for being in the studio. Very much appreciated. Sanjay ji, first question for you. I have been hearing a lot of, my friends, relatives, and even otherwise, people are saying that this pandemic is a result of our own overbrimming vessel of sins. हमारे पापों का घड़ा भर गया. What do you have to say about this? क्या हमारे पापों का घड़ा भर गया?
पापों का घड़ा भर गया कि नहीं, मगर बेवकूफियों का घड़ा भर गया. I think that, the spiritual understanding that I have gathered over the years, there's nothing called sin, right? And I think it is really, I guess, every challenge we face in our life is to teach us something new. And till we learn, it will continue. And learning is always very personal, very individual. It's not something that somebody can stand on a pulpit and teach you, and that's right. Or somebody can do a podcast and YouTube, and then you listen to that and that is a wise guy. No. Learning is something very individual for each one of us and all of us collectively. When I feel that enough learning has happened, then things will become better. That's how I look at it.
Okay, Parthiv, for more intellectually inclined, such as you, the Papo Ka Ghada, I guess, is, our bad collective consciousness or our bad collective karma. Those are some of the phrases that's also being used. So bottom line, we have collectively sinned. What do you feel?
No, like Sanjay ji said, I don't believe in that kind of causality. I mean, of course, everything, karma has its role, karma has its place. But look, this pandemic is certainly hurting a lot of people, but there are many others who are making the most of it. They are growing spiritually, they're growing mentally, they're growing. They're developing more, family moments, enjoying it, so for them, they're not hurting. So paap kahan se aaya hai na? For them, it ends up being like opportunity, So yeah, I mean, it's how you take it, but it's not like, okay, all these preachers and all these, pundits, they are, we are saying that Papo ka bada bad gaya, abhi, this is where we are paying the price. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Parthiv, when you say the crisis is helping people become wiser and more mature, does it imply we should have more of such crises and in quick frequency?
Well, it depends, because look, there are people who are learning and growing, but at the same time, when you first posed the question, about increase in spirituality because of this virus situation and the fear, my first thought was that, I don't see what I see increases in interest in food. People are sharing their breakfast, lunch and dinner photos all the time, So it depends, when granted, like Buddha said, fear or suffering is the basis of, a journey into spirituality and religion, But people have a choice, when suffering comes, some people drown themselves in distractions like food, Zoom calls with families, non-stop. I mean, nothing wrong with any of this, but when you basically are using that as a distraction to continue to do what you're doing, binge watching movies, so that's one way to deal with. And another way to deal with is like, hey, wait a minute, here's a great opportunity, I'm indeed very, very concerned about the future. I'm worried about my businesses. I'm worried about my finances. What does this teach me? How can we be more contemplative, more introspective, and then eventually come to the central journey of life about, what is this all about? Who am I? I mean, these things, these questions, they seem very abstract and far-fetched, but they have a direct bearing into our daily lives, So pausing and taking time, to contemplate, to introspect, to maybe meditate, to maybe read scriptures, I think certainly is a better way to handle the fear.
Okay. Sanjay ji, question for you. We hear the words such as religion, spirituality, dharma, faith, meditation. Are these words interchangeable, or they mean the same thing, or is there some fundamental differences?
Sure. So a very relevant question today, because I think all of a sudden you do see a rise in the conversations around this. And in fact, I was reading a New York Times article. It says, where does God self-quarantine himself or herself? Not in the church. Because even churches are, people are, it has been banned for people to go to churches, congregate in churches. So obviously, we're saying that God doesn't exist there anymore. He's not quarantining there in churches. Same thing is with temples or mosques or other places. But I think the question that you raised about religion, spirituality and meditation, yes, I think they do get used interchangeably, and especially in certain cultures, unfortunately, I feel. But the way I look at these is there's a very distinct difference. To me, religion is like a banana skin, and spirituality is the banana inside, right? And it has a role to play, and it externalizes what you are looking at, what you are practicing, what you are aiming to get closer to. And in fact, in a recent discussion, he gave a very good example I liked. He said religion is like training wheels, when you're learning to drive or learning to drive a bicycle or something like that. It's like a training wheel. And then eventually it has to come off. Just if you want to eat banana, you have to peel it eventually, right? So you could be born in a religion, you could start with a religious thing, but eventually if you are a seeker, which I personally believe everybody is a seeker, sooner or later they will realize it. That's when we talk about learning, to me this is the journey for us to realize all these things in our life. This is one of the things that one has to realize, whether you realize this pandemic or it's for the next one. That's your choice. So coming back to the spirituality is the one which has the ability to give you the taste, Nana, or the taste of the thing that you're seeking, or make you drive that car or that cycle without the training wheels by yourself so that you can reach your destination. And meditation in this is a tool. Meditation is a tool that helps you with that journey. And spirituality is a broader, and meditation is a practice that could be, part of that umbrella, or one of the practices that is part of that umbrella that helps you either drive, taste, as examples I gave, and and I think to your other question, I did want to refer that, why I feel more people are turning towards it is, of course, more than Papo Ka Ghada, that's more from our ancient, Hindu tradition, but generally from the psychologist's perspective, though I am not one myself, there is a rapid increase from psychological perspective in the feeling of fear and loneliness. And whether it is a fear because they have the world is going to come to an end, or everything else, obviously the immediate fear is, would I get corona, right? Or what would happen to my business? So fear and the loneliness because of isolation, right? People are sitting at home. And not everybody is as fortunate as some of us are who are with family and who have somebody who can look at cooking channels to cook, as Parthiv said. That's true. Cooking channels are thriving, making a lot of money, but that is for the fortunate ones, I would say. For the unfortunate ones who don't have money to buy food or who don't have something to share their life with, it's the loneliness. And I think these two things, these two feelings, and they are real. It's not that these people are wrong in feeling that. Of course, when you listen to the news and what else you hear, and when you're being asked to inject, Lysol or Clorox or something like that in your bloodstream and all, you will be fearful. You should be fearful. I think some fear is necessary for us to exist and do the right thing, but too much of it is not. But I think that's where religion or spirituality, they act as a balm, and that's why people are turning towards it.
Sanjay, are you saying that the religion or the spirituality, at the max, they have some therapeutic, value?
In my understanding, they only provide, the psychological or therapeutic. That's a therapeutic too. psychological benefit to you, nothing else. And they say that positive attitude can help you win over any disease. So faith can move mountains. These are sayings we have heard, and I'm sure there is a truth in it. Not that it will cure your corona, or somebody claims you will not get corona if you do this, if you do that. I don't think it's correct. They should be propagating such things, in my understanding. But I think it does prepare you mentally to face the situation. You may have heard often from me when I talk about meditation, just because someone starts meditation doesn't mean he doesn't get a flat tire. or problems of life. You will have, but you will be better suited to handle those problems. You will not panic.
Okay, moving forward. Parthiv, let me ask you this. What is the role of personal God, and does prayer work?
It's a very good question. The role of a personal God, I've personally seen that in my life. My mother has had a very strong relationship with her deity, Balakrishna, and she has a daily seva, going on, and I've seen that growing up, and I've seen that all my adult life, and I see the strength and faith that she gets from it. So see, one can't discount the value of that, but I think there are also pitfalls, because a lot of that is based on faith, and eventually I think a person would need to move from faith to experience. Because what happens is, when you have a relationship with a personal God, and then when things go wrong in your life, you will have to rationalize. You will have to either rationalize or you will feel a little let down, because unfortunately what happens is, a lot of people's idea of, having a relationship with God is that, hey, I'll be taken care of him, nothing wrong will happen, nothing bad will happen, because I'm such a great devotee of this God. Yeah. So that's a handicap. That I think eventually we need to come to a point where we realize that life is a phenomenal game. Sorrow, struggle is a part of it. Using a personal God to try to push them away. It's not even the thing you want. Eventually we need to come to a point that how do I have suffering in my life and not be impact? Or in other words, there may be pain, but how can there not be suffering? Let's say there are issues in your life, there's trouble in your life, but you are not suffering. It seems contradictory, but I have seen that in my own life. I've come to the point, my meditation practice, I was initiated by Sadhguru, about 14, 15 years back, and my own meditation practice for all these years has brought me to a point where a number of things happen in my life. Right now I'm dealing with a very strong, big health challenge and all, but when I really examine myself, I'm not suffering. I'm enjoying life. I'm optimistic. Overall, I appreciate even the hardships and what it teaches me. So those opportunities I feel are lost, when you have a relationship with a personal God which is based only on faith. But that said, like I said, in some ways my mother has a tremendous amount of faith and courage and strength, which she derives from that relationship. So up to a certain extent, I think it does have a place. I think eventually one must move beyond that, I imagine. That's my take on it, I think.
Okay. Sanjay ji, what do you think? Only a divine intervention is going to save the world from this crisis? And does prayer work?
I wish every day, I wish that divine intervention will save the world, but I think that's a wishful thinking. And I am saying it, as I said, after so many years of, being immersed in meditation in my personal life. I don't think so. Though in my, I would say, at one level I wish, but I don't think it is going to happen. As I said earlier, I think it is the learning of human beings that is going to save the world. We have to learn to rise above this, and that is the human spirit. To me, a divine spirit is no different from human spirit, because divinity, as we say, is in each one of us. And same way I would say, I just recently, I think, in one of the conversations, our heartfulness guide, Daji was saying in some congregation of various people were talking about let's do synchronized prayer and all that. And he says, prayer is good all time. Any time you can do prayer, it's good. It brings you closer to that sense of relief, that sense of protection. But I think prayer alone is not enough in these times. These are the times for us to act. It's like you have an accident in your house and you say, hey, let me pray. No, first you have to take the person to hospital. And after that, his hospital provide him all the necessary care and all that. After that, you can do all the prayers. And you may be a bit surprised to hear such things from me because people think, but I think to me, that's what spirituality teaches you, wisdom. What is needed where? In such things, what we pray alone is not enough. You need to act. We all have to become serving citizens of the world in these times. Serve from the highest ability one has during these times, because all kind of help is needed. There is help is needed in making meals, donating for those meals, the PPEs, personal protection gear and all that, and emotional, mental strength, that support that you can give to people, spiritual support you can give to people, and I think those are needed. Now, these days, most of our meditation sessions have also become all virtual. And I am, morning to evening, several sessions in between my work hours. I do that, and so do all the heartfulness trainers all over the world are doing that. And they're doing it because we feel this is the way we can serve without going outside, and we can serve many people, and only we can serve like this. Not everybody can do this, right? And because the spiritual support, mental, support that we can provide to people in this hour, and that's why I mentioned to you that how rampant these cases of fear and are right now. We are seeing that loneliness that we're seeing around us. That is, we can help. So prayer. If suppose somebody asks me for a lesson, say I'll pray for you. I think that's alone is not enough. I really need to talk to the person. I need to be able to help that person get over it, right?
Okay.
Time for the last question for both of you. How is your style of meditation been helping you during these days? Parthiv, let's start with you.
So the meditation practice that I've been initiated into, it's called Dunia. From day one, we were told that this is not something that we talk too much publicly about, because it's a very, very personal practice, in terms of what is done or how it's done. But here's what I can talk about is that the impact it has on my life, how slowly but steadily, it shows you, it reveals to you, that ultimately you're not a mind, you're not a body. This whole thing about the spiritual journey, the religious journey, if it is a journey from your mortal self to your spiritual self, then meditation is a strong vehicle to show you that ultimately, there is a distance between what you really are and what your body mind is experiencing, on a day-to-day basis. So to give you a practical example, let's say if you are suffering on account of some issue, let's say if it is about health, or let's say it's about finances, what this meditation has done for me is that, I can have worry, I can have concern, I can have, thoughts going through in my mind. But ultimately I also have a distance from it, where I can observe it on a neutral basis. I can I can see that, I'm not all that. I'm not what goes on in my head, And that is very powerful. It is something you have to experience to know how powerful it is, instead of just theoretically knowing, I'm not the body and mind, So meditation over time gives you that experience of being a spirit, and enjoying the game, whatever is playing out in the game. And it also has, incidentally, it also has other benefits or, repercussions in your life, For example, you're able to use your mind much more effectively, compared to about 15, 20 years back, where, I've been writing for 20 plus years, but in my initial days, writing was often, they used to talk about this writer's block, right? Writer's block was very common, you have to struggle to put together your thoughts, you have to struggle to have some clarity, and there would be a lot of revisions, and there would be a lot of engagement and hard work, And these days, what I'm experiencing is that I want to write about something. I kind of play with that topic, and it's with me, it percolates with me for a couple of days. And when I'm ready to sit down and write, it just flows. For the most part, it just flows, and I don't know where it's flowing from. I don't know. Some of the things that come up are not something that I have thought of, but it flows. So basically what it is, the way I see meditation is that it kind of is like getting more familiar with the owner's manual of what you are or who you are, Anything will work better if you're more aware of the nitty-gritty of it, the workings of it, So that's what my meditation practice is doing. It's giving me a close look at the machinery of how things work. How my emotions work, how my thoughts work, how my actions work. What are the consequences, of my action. So instead of having all these things, being buried in day-to-day drama and day-to-day diversions, you are now able to explore them. You're now able to learn from them. You're able to, grow and enrich your life, enrich people's life around you. Relationships get better, performance gets better. That doesn't mean that challenges go away. I still struggle. I still struggle with many things, But overall, you can see the progress, you can see the growth.
Okay. Sanjay ji, please share your experiences about your meditation.
See, to me, meditation helps me and anyone who does, or any kind of meditation. It is to take them to a point of known comfort within themselves. I will not go into a grand spiritual explanation here. We all have, I earlier mentioned that there is psychological, there is a rampant, dangers of fear, psychosis, and loneliness and all. And techniques like meditation or practices like meditation helps one get to a place of known comfort within themselves. And that's, to me, that's what, in short, it brings to oneself, or brings to me. It takes my mind off all the other clutter and helps me stay in that inner sanctuary, if I may call it, for as long as I want, for as long as I need to. And, there is a saying, never allow a crisis go waste, right? And that's what when I initially mentioned that it has come to teach us. So it is for us, this crisis has come to teach us something. And all of us, since all of us are seekers of some kind, if we allow this crisis to teach us, to seek us the right thing, we will find the right thing, whatever that is. Some in cases like ours, it may be meditation. In somebody else, it may be something else. But not doing something is not a choice. You have to do something to rise or to come out of this or to rise above this situation. No divine intervention is going to come and save you. It's good for us to realize it sooner than later.
With this, it is time to end our conversation. And now is the time to thank our guest once again. Thank you both of you, Sanjay and Parthiv.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Kailash ji.
Parthiv. It was wonderful.
Thank you, Sanjay.